Imagination is quite powerful, right? And when you have the privilege and the opportunity to imagine things, and you have, in fact, the system that enables and support it, also means the power to, in fact, actually make and shape the world. And imagination really is not just, a luxury. In fact, imagination also gives you the opportunity to question the assumptions that you have, right? Because imagination might not necessarily be just the critical or rational things. You can imagine those things that includes the preposterous future, which includes the idea of imagining what's impossible. I think each and every one, wherever you are or whatever you do, wherever you might be, must have that opportunity, the sovereign freedom, to question the future and to imagine it as well. And how do we, in fact, actually do that, particularly when it comes to democratizing and decolonizing the future? We need to create spaces where those who, at least from a modern traditional spaces, does not have opportunity, for example, the youth, the elders, the indigenous leaders, the indigenous communities, women, informal workers, can have the opportunity to ask the questions and not just answer them. We need to provide spaces wherein we are given the opportunity to value our ancestral memories, right? And leave experiences as sources of insight and as sources of foresight.
Absolutely.
We need to provide opportunities for people to actually play, because I think the way for us to democratize the future should not just be taken rationally and critically. Yes, those domains that are dictated by experts. We need to include those who are non-experts, but rather well-experienced. Like, for example, giving opportunities for kids to actually participate in the process as well. Storytelling, rituals, and art, because these things are ways by which we can, in fact, surface our dreams as well, and not just through data, including, of course, our unspoken fears that are not necessarily acquired, or spaces that are not open to those kinds of ideas that shut us up because it goes against their point of views. And most importantly, I think we need, when it comes to democratizing the future, we need to commit ourselves, to futures rooted in care. Because I think the only way for us to democratize the future is for us to amplify the conception, the idea of care and not control.
Absolutely.
The intention of why we do these things, particularly when you say something, as you accentuated it, the idea of global citizenship, has to be rooted in care and not in control. Otherwise, if we all become strategic about the future, we might unintentionally colonize it, right?
There is a risk to colonize the future as well. Perhaps
Right?
some individuals are already working on this.
Yes, not just some
Unfortunately.
individuals, right? Like power, really, right? When it comes to the concept of power. So I just want to add several things as well. So how do we do this? We at the UNESCO chair developed several games, right? I could summarize it in 3 things. We've developed game that enables people to actually imagine the future from an impossible perspective, because not every one of us, Emiliano, have that opportunity or space to actually dream about preposterous things or ridiculous things, right? Sometimes hope emerges from the impossible future and not necessarily from what is possible or probable or predictable, right? And we developed this Dreams and Disruptions game. Our intention is to help communities surface their imagination and imagine alternative future and disrupt these dominant imaginations about the future. Like, for example, those that we see in Hollywood, right? Those are the dominant features. Like, primarily, most of the imagination that we have right now, which is pretty quite dominant, are technological driven futures. But then, of course, the future cannot just be about technology, right? You have society, economics, politics, of course, definitely, culture, heritage, ethics, and spirituality as well. These are other conditions